to another episode of Women in Focus. Our woman in focus today is a doctor by profession, a naturopath actually. Her name is Dr. Alexina Mehta. Good name, interesting name, beautiful stories. Dr. Mehta, you're most welcome in our program. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here today with you. I'm great.
Good.
Yeah.
So, first of all, let's talk about your name.
Sure.
Okay? Everything is in a name, isn't there?
Yes.
So, Alexina, how does that come about? And Mehta?
So my father always loved the name Alex.
Okay.
And
He was expecting a boy.
He was expecting a boy.
Okay.
Instead, he got 3 girls. And so he gave me the name Alexina. And actually later on, when I became a little bit older, I did look up the meaning of the name.
Yes.
And it suits me well, based on what I do now in my
Yes.
life. And it means helper or defender of mankind.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your dad was thinking way in advance.
Yes. He
Good
was
for
a
him.
visionary for sure.
And I understand you've got an interesting middle name.
Yes. So my father also loved Egypt.
Uh-huh.
And he gave me the middle name Cleopatra.
Holy mackerel.
And actually, I also did some investigation on the meaning of this name, and it means glory to the Father.
Oh,
Yes.
very interesting,
Yes.
isn't it? So your father must be very happy with what you're doing right now.
Yes, yes, very much so. He actually was the one who encouraged me to study holistic health and wellness. He saw that when I was in my early 20s and I was trying to figure out, like as many people do, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to be focusing my career on?
Right.
And he saw that when I did some study in different modalities in healing and I was drawn to naturopathic medicine, that I was really enthusiastic about integrative medicine. And he saw that twinkle in my eye and he said, go for it. So I still remember the day when he took me to the naturopathic school here that's local. And I spoke with some of the ladies there, and everybody was very friendly and kind. And I said, Dad, I think I want to be here. I think these are my people. And he said, go for it. So that day, he bought me all my textbooks, and that journey has continued on.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a lovely story. So let's talk about your childhood, your parents. So you were born here?
Yes, born in Vancouver, Canada.
And your parents must have come here in the early or late 70s?
Yeah, exactly.
So growing up here, your last name makes me believe that it is a Punjabi name, but Sikh Punjabi, right?
Yes.
So very staunch believers in Sikhism, or,
Actually, my father, he's had such a huge influence in my life. And he was very much interested in training his daughters to be holistic viewers of the world.
Right.
So he would take us to the Buddhist temple, to the mosque, to the Hindu temple, to the Sikh temple. We even had people of the Christian faith that would come and speak with us as kids and tell us stories about the Bible.
Especially the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes. And so we had many different education systems growing up in spirituality, and he really encouraged that. So I'm very grateful for that, because that's influenced the way that I see the world and has led me to all kinds of ancient wisdom, knowledge, and teachings that have changed the way that I practice and the way that I help people.
So you moved into holistic medicine. What about your other 2 sisters?
So my second sister, she studied law.
Yes.
And actually my third sister, she also studied law. And they both did a bachelor's and a master's degree.
Wow.
And I think they're both always getting certificates and other courses and constantly learning. And it's interesting, actually, because my dad was very much like that, too. He was always studying, up until...
Thirst for knowledge.
Very strong thirst for knowledge, yes. Up until close to the end of his life, he was still doing training and taking advanced first aid courses and testing me on first aid knowledge.
You mentioned until just recently, did you lose your father?
Yes, yes, we did. So he had a heart attack about 3 years ago now. And then, unfortunately, after the heart attack, they had found cancer in the mesothelium. So it was from asbestos poisoning.
Oh.
And then, yeah. So
Really?
yes, yes. So when he came to Canada, one of his first jobs was working at the asbestos mine. Yeah.
Wow.
And this kind of cancer, remains dormant for very long. And so he knew that there was some fibers there, some previous scans that he had done, but they were inactive, nothing was there. And then it was after the surgery that we found out that he had this cancer. And then he lived for about 1.5 years after that. And he really lived in that 1.5 years.
Wow.
It was very beautiful to watch how he really honored every moment of life. And he would teach us, like simple things like look at the trees, look at the flowers, love your mother. He would keep telling us, love your mother, love your mother. And it was a joke in a way, we said, but what about you? And he said, I'm okay, but love your mother. Like he was preparing us.
Yeah.
I think on some level, people really, they know, and when it's their time. And so he was training us to become a little bit stronger so that we would be able to deal with, the ramifications of losing someone so dear on a physical level. But of course, on another level, we know that our Father is always with us. And
Of course. Of course.
The love and the wisdom that he always emanated carries on.
I want to take you to your education and studying and naturopath. You're a doctor now, Dr. Alexina Mehta. The life that you've built for yourself. Let's talk a little bit about that, but we'll take a short break and come back.
Sure.
Dr. Mehta is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is Dr. Alexina Mehta. I love your name. I love the way it's been, given to you and the meaning that it has behind it. So, a person who's going to be helping others. Now, why didn't you go and become a allopathic doctor and not a homeopathic doctor?
So, as I mentioned earlier, when I was younger, I had some sicknesses myself. And we went that route to begin with, but was not receiving the kind of healing that my body knew that was possible. And so I started to explore other more holistic approaches, and that's really what led me to carry on and study it.
Isn't that beautiful? So do you believe then that allopathy medicine, that Ayurvedic or homeopathic medicine is superior to allopathy, or do they have a place, both of them have a place in this world?
Definitely both of them have a place in this world.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So each system of medicine, it has certain principles and tenets and certain goals and intentions. And when that system of medicine is used for those intentions and goals, then it works very well. But when it's used in situations when there is something which makes more sense to be using, then it's not really appropriate. So a lot of things can be done to prevent serious illnesses. As we know, 90%, 95% of illnesses are due to stress, due to poor lifestyle, due to negative emotions that get out of hand, that are due to unconsciousness and fear and anxiety, and many of these things can get addressed in different ways.
Right.
There's thousands of tools from many systems of medicine: Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, homeopathic, naturopathic, herbal medicine, spiritual practices, yoga, meditation, and emergency situations. Of course, we must utilize allopathic medicine in most of these cases.
Right.
So each situation, it's case by case. And I think that the future of medicine is when we can all coexist
Right.
in a harmonious way and intelligently decide what is appropriate for any situation that we come across in somebody's health.
So for you to become a naturopathic doctor, is it the same number of years that you have to study as a medical doctor does?
So we have to do a degree and the same kinds of prerequisites like the sciences, chemistry, biology, calculus. I'm thinking back to those years of university, you know, when you're just plowing through all the courses.
Right.
So I did many years of study. And,
Yes.
then when you enter into naturopathic medical school, it's 4 years full time. Of course, I did it a while ago now, and nowadays they have more options for different kinds of mentorships and apprenticeships, and things evolve over time. So I had a thirst of knowledge, such a huge thirst of knowledge. So I was the student that was taking courses after school, on the weekends, in the vacations. Like my father, I was voracious for studies.
Right.
And especially my goal was to understand, how do we really heal?
Right.
Deep healing, how do we access deep healing? And so I needed to keep studying until I began to taste the answers of what that looked like.
Arthritis
Yes.
has become a new illness that older people or even younger people go through it. So as a person who practices
Yes.
in your field, of course, I know that preventative medication is much better than, after you've already had the disease. But how do you prevent all these? Is it our food? Is it our lifestyle? Is it the way we are being brought up?
It's a very good question in the sense that I think most people would ask it.
Yes.
It's something that's very relevant because most of us will experience illness at some point in our life, and if it's not us, it's someone we love. So we need to look at all of the factors, the lifestyle factors like the diet, the exercise, water intake, the kinds of medications that we've used in the past, the supplements, the herbs. We need to look at the environment,
Right.
The environment that we live in, the stress levels of work, the stress levels of our past, things that we've experienced in the past. So when we look at the whole picture of someone's entire life, that gives us much more information in being able to determine if a certain modality will help that person. And also their willingness, how willing. The question I always ask my patients is, how much do you want to get better? You say you want to get better.
Yeah.
But how much? What are you willing to lose so that you can gain something better? And that is the real question. Because in order to be at a certain position in life, all of the thoughts, emotions, words, and actions that we've done has contributed to the current state. And illness is not something that is separate from our entirety of who we are. It is part of us. But it's a part which is obviously something we want to get rid of. We want to be as healthy as possible, but we also know that most human beings eventually will get sick. So this then brings us to the bigger question of what is the purpose of my life? What is the meaning of this existence? And it brings us back to the sooner that we learn to take care of ourselves, how to take care of ourselves, body, heart, mind, soul, spirit, the more use that we'll get out of our life because we have developed consciousness. And the reason why we say, think, feel, and do things that we don't necessarily want to do, because they lead to suffering, they lead to illness, they lead to stress, we do those things because we're unconscious. So we need to become more conscious. And so the younger ones, if we learn this at a younger age,
Would be better.
much better for everyone.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about the community and how your work can help our community. But let's take a short commercial break and come back.
Great.
Dr. Alexina Mehta is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is a naturopath, Dr. Mehta, who is our Woman in Focus today. So, when you look at your patients, obviously, you know, you want them to be better, and that's why they come to you, and that's your sole purpose. But there must be something that you are interested in exploring and giving back to the community. What is it that you are most concerned about as far as the community is concerned, your patients are concerned, people that you're working with are concerned?
So education, and more education is the answer. When I work with someone one-on-one, I do my best to educate them on how to live a healthy lifestyle, but that's just the beginning.
Okay.
You know, really the education must continue. So some different ways that I help is I put on retreats all over the world.
Okay.
Before the pandemic, of course.
Of course. Now that the pandemic is an endemic,
yes.
So you can do that again?
Yes, we'll start up again. We do one normally once a year in India. We go to an Ayurveda center.
Okay.
And we stay there for a week, 10 days, and experience the healing lifestyle and the modalities and
Is
the
it
study.
the one in which people are dug and in a mud and put in mud and something like that?
No, not that one.
Okay, good, okay.
Not that one. We go to one that's like a little more moderate than that.
Okay, all right,
And we do other kinds of retreats in Hawaii and different parts of Europe.
Right.
And then I do lots of workshops, educational seminars. I do a lot of speaking for organizations, for patients. And then I'm also a facilitator of what's called Pneuma breathwork and transpersonal psychology. And we put on breathwork sessions in Vancouver.
How important is breathing?
Very important.
Okay.
Yes, very important.
So that's why in yoga, the very first thing that you learn is how to breathe properly.
Exactly. Yeah. If you think of it, you know, the breath is something that we have throughout our entire life. It's the first experience of ourselves is through the breath, and the last experience of ourselves in the body is through the breath. So learning how to breathe and learning how to use the breath as a way to become more conscious and aware of ourselves is very
important.
Useful. Yes, very important. So we offer these breathwork sessions locally in the Vancouver area, but actually the organization offers breathwork and training all over the world. And people obviously are welcome to come to that. And so we explore mostly through different kinds of educations, retreats, workshops, seminars, talks, and videos.
When you look at your patients, most of your, are they all South Asian or all different parts of the world?
All different parts of the world.
Right.
Of course, I have many South Asian patients as well.
So then my question becomes slightly different. So you have South Asian patients and you have non-South Asian patients. Do you find the same sort of way of thinking within the South Asian community and the non-South Asian community? And how do you tackle that?
It's a wonderful question. You know, there's a familiarity in working with the South Asian community because of the spirituality that we grew up with, the influence of the mantras and the music and the food and the culture and the family environment. And you know, we have a lot of the same kinds of difficulties. And especially being in Canada, you know, the second, third generations have similar kinds of challenges. So of course I can relate to that, being in the same boat. But you know, I find that so many people are drawn to the teachings of India. That's why it's one of the most visited countries in the world. You know, that ancient wisdom knowledge is something that a lot of people can relate to and connect to. So I find that the non-South Asian folks that come to see me or request help or guidance, they're drawn to the teachings that come from India, because that's something obviously that I value and that I naturally communicate with my patients. And it's something that is very sweet. It's something that people can connect with So I think it helps them very much, but a little bit different.
That's beautiful. Now, how long have you been practicing?
Well, I graduated in 2008.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing. So, where are you located?
so my office is on West 4th
Yes.
in Vancouver, just above the Whole Foods on West 4th.
Yes.
And yeah, so I'm there. And then, of course, I work online as well in this day and age.
Yes.
And so I do the naturopathic medicine and also help people with Ayurvedic kinds of questions.
So when we talk about Ayurvedic type of questions, what sort of questions come up the most?
You know, people are interested in understanding their constitutional type.
Yes.
So in Ayurveda, we can see that there's different body types, mental spheres,
Yes.
emotional spheres, you know, the Pitta, Vata, Kapha, and
Yeah.
any combination of those. And so people are interested in learning what they are. If they have some kind of an illness, they want to know, is this a Pitta influence or a Kapha influence? People are very drawn to the herbal medicine.
Right.
They want to learn about that. They want to learn about what are some of the lifestyle techniques that they can use. They want to learn about the yoga practices, the breathing. And based on somebody's constitution, there's different recommendations for each of the constitutions.
Wow.
That will strengthen so that they can heal more quickly.
It's been great talking to you, and I'm so glad that we eventually made
Yes.
this time possible.
Yes,
I
thank
thank you
you.
so much for your time and the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much.
We should regularly have you on radio as well.
That would be wonderful. I would love that. Yes, and thank you. You know, I grew up watching you on television. Our whole family did.
Yes.
And it's an honor to meet you in person, and I can see how what you've cultivated here is just from so much love and heart that you put into it. So I can see there's a reason why you've been doing this for so many years. And so thank you for all your work in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Alexina Mehta has been our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back.